Since the latest Cold Snap patch, I have spent the last few days testing out and researching every single skill in ARCRaiders so that you don't have to. I have landed on what in my opinion is the most optimal skill tree, taking into account the changes to effortless roll and the current meta skill picks. There are a few underrated and underpicked skills here that a lot of people aren't aware of that are definitely worth running. Let's dive right in so that you can start your expedition reset off on the right foot. Starting off with the green tree, use to the weight is a no-brainer. You certainly want 5 points in this skill, as the weight reduction on blue shields, which is going to be the main shield that you're wearing in particularly mid-game and later, isn't huge, but it is useful. It does make a difference. The next skill that you want in the conditioning line is gentle pressure, and you actually want to max this out, because if you're like me and you play a lot of Stellar in particular, the ability to hear people's breach noise through 1, 2, even 3 walls is ramped up massively. So this can just allow you to move around the map a lot more quietly, particularly for solo players, reduces the chance of getting ratted, basically. Next up, Proficient Prior is 100% without a doubt worth taking. It just allows you to move around the map that much quicker. You can breach a container in, I think it's like a second and more, less time. It really adds up throughout a raid, particularly if you're doing them blue runs. So definitely with this, 5 out of 5. Next up in the conditioning tree is Fight or Flight. Again, we want 5 out of 5 here. Anything really that increases your stamina or your stamina regen is a massive thumbs up, because stamina is a hugely limited resource in this game. Movement in combat is important, and stamina is the ingredient to be able to move. So yeah, very simply, we want to put 1 point into Blastborn here. We're not worried about maxing this out. It doesn't really make a huge difference. The hearing isn't terribly problematic anyway. Just the 1 point to get us here, and then yeah, all 5 again into Fight or Flight. We actually then want both Unburdened Roll and Survivor Stamina. So Unburdened Roll is just excellent. Again, like mentioned, movement is important. An extra dodge roll is an extra dodge roll, not to be sniffed at, just to 1 point. And then Survivor Stamina again, yeah, obviously self-explanatory. You get low on health, you get more stamina, increases your chance of successfully resetting that fight or getting away. 1 point there. Okay then, so to finish off the conditioning skill tree, there really is only one skill here that we actually care about. I've seen a few people mentioning Turtle Crawl. It is a good skill. You know, when you're downed, you do take less damage, particularly if you combine it with downed but determined, so you take longer to bleed out. And then you can also throw in crawl before you walk, so you crawl even faster. So yeah, with those 3 combined, which is I think 15 skill points altogether, so it's a huge chunk. But if you do go for all 3 of those, it does mean that when you do get downed, usually in a group fight, you do have a good chance of getting away. Combine that with a survivor augment, and yeah, like you might be surviving a few extra raids and getting out of there. I personally prefer to work with the assumption that I'm not going to be down in the first place. You know, I'd like to tell myself that if I get downed, then I've already made the mistake and I deserve to die regardless. So I choose to leave these 3 skills empty, which means we have 1 skill left on conditioning, which is loaded arms. It's worth taking. You know, we have to take a little extra here, which we don't really care about, to be able to get to loaded arms. So in all in all, it costs 2 points, but it's worth taking because yeah, weight is important, and it's just an extra you know, ability to carry some more loot when you're in raid. On to the mobility skill tree. Nice and simple, very straightforward. Nibble climber, 5 out of 5. Self-explanatory. Yeah, you can move around the map a lot quicker. You can vault, you can jump, you can leap a lot more efficiently, quickly. Yeah, worth taking. Now, these are probably the 2 most picked skills in the game, and it's for good reason. So you most certainly want Marathon Runner. 5 out of 5 just means that you use less stamina for general movement, and then you also want Youthful Lungs. Again, 5 out of 5, max stamina, straightforward. I would recommend after resetting or after the expedition, you know, Nibble Climber into Marathon Runner for Youthful Lungs. You could either go 1 into Nibble Climber and then 5 and 5. Probably the first 3 points or first 3 skills where I'm going to put my points as I start fresh. The next 5 points that you want on the mobility skill tree is Slip and Slide. It actually isn't a huge increase on your sliding potential, but it is still some, and it is for that reason worth putting points into, in my opinion. You do want to be sliding a lot around the map as you move around, because it does help you use less stamina. You know, you regain stamina when you slide. So yeah, worth 5 out of 5 points in that one. You then want the 1 point in Carry the Momentum. Again, the exact same reasoning as all of the other mobility skills. It just increases your stamina efficiency. So you can sprint dodge roll and you get a small window of opportunity where you can sprint without using stamina. Just lets you move around for longer without hitting 0 stam. Now, the only, or the last point in mobility that you want 5 points in is effortless roll, courtesy of the latest patch where they, I guess, fixed it because it wasn't working at all. Yeah, you want 5 points in here. They have now fixed this, so I think you can dodge roll with max points. If you can dodge roll like 5 times compared to 3, you're getting an extra 2 dodge rolls on average. You don't want or need any points in heroic leap at the moment. In theory, it's a really good skill, but it isn't working. So if Embark ever do fix it, and then sure, you know, we might have to rejig this skill tree to put 5 points into heroic leap. But at the moment, no point, not working. So the last point that you want in mobility is vigorous vaulter. This is actually excellent. Prior to this, there'd be a lot of times you'd vault, you lose a chunk of stamina, take you to the threshold, take you to 0, and then you would just pretty much be stuck. You know, if you try to vault in again, you'd be extremely slow. You can sometimes get stuck in an locked in an animation for like 3 seconds. It feels like 10 seconds if you're in combat. So this is the most valuable point you will spend, in my opinion. You do actually need to spend 2 points to get there. You need to put 1 in crawl before you walk, and then yeah, just a 1 in vigorous vaulter. Now that brings us on to the final tree, the survival skill tree. There's only actually a few skills here that we really care about, namely broad shoulders, and actually one that is massively underrated is 3 deep breaths here. I'm not really seeing anyone use that, but off my own research, I have worked out that it is excellent. You basically, if you hit 0 stamina, without this, you'll take 4 seconds to get back up to regaining stamina. So you'll basically be unable to perform any real mobility action for 4 seconds. Whereas with this, you start regenerating stamina within like 1-2 seconds again. So you just get back on your feet, no pun intended, that much quicker. We need to put 5 points here into agile croucher just because we need to hit 15 to get, you know, past these sort of threshold points. Agile croucher is one of the least useless ones of these sort of first 5 points. So yeah, 5 points here to start the red tree. I recommend putting 5 points out of 5 into Looter's Instinct. Like I said, you need 15 points to get past these thresholds. Silent Scavenger isn't worth the points, in my opinion. In run crafting, it only takes 1 point anyway. And Revitalizing Squat isn't really worth the points. Out of these two, I'd rather put the 5 in Looter's Instinct. So this just means, in combination with the Breach one, Proficient Prior, between that and Looter's Instincts, you'll be able to sort of get around the map a lot quicker, be a lot more efficient in your raid, particularly in those loot runs. From there, it's really just about hitting the 15 points. So I would put 3 into Revitalizing Squat, so you do get a little bit of extra stam regen when you're crouched. 1 into the in-run crafting, just to unlock that and to hit the threshold, and then 1 into Silent Scavenger. Looting anyway is quiet. You know, this is different to breaching. We've already got the gentle pressure skill, so you make less noise when breaching. This isn't the same thing. This is just looting bags, which is already quite quiet. I mean, how many times have you heard someone opening a bag through a wall? I think it's not too often. If it is, then you've got some incredible headphones, and you can let me know below what brand they are. But yeah, otherwise this isn't really too useful. So just 1 point there, and then we've got the 15. Now, once we're at the 15, we do want both of these skills. But as you can see, we are only on 8 skill points left, so we're nearing the maximum. Now, this is before the reset, so if you're like me, you're going to get, let me just show here, you're going to get the extra 5 skill points. You know, if you've got above 5 million in your stash, you're going to get an extra 5 skill points, which puts you on 81 overall. So you do want these 2, but for this video, I'm just going to show us getting to 3 deep breaths, and then I will highlight getting the broad shoulders, which is exceptionally important, but I won't be able to actually do it because I've not got the extra skill points yet. So yeah, we put 1 into good as new, which is, it's nice, you know, it's a good quality of life. It just means that if you're healing, if you use a bandage, for example, and you're healing for maybe 10-15 seconds, you got an extra bit of stam regen, which is fine. And then we really want this 3 deep breaths, so we got 1 point into stubborn mule, which isn't too important, and then we want 5 points here. And you know, if you don't believe me, test this for yourself, but this is a really exceptionally strong skill. Now, as you can see, I've only got the 1 skill point left. This is 6 skill points after the expedition. I do not care about Traveling Tinkerer, really. I mean, I may at some point free up a point from somewhere, maybe lose loaded arms, just to get Traveling Tinker if I'm running a lot of free runs on Stella and I want to be able to craft the hatch key in Raid. But otherwise, I just don't use it. I don't, I bring in enough meds and shield recharges anyway. So the only thing I use it for is Raider hatch keys on free loadouts, which is quite specific. I'm not anticipating I'm going to be using that this much this wipe. So for that reason, I've left that empty. 100 scraps, yeah, again, bit extra loot, no biggie. Minesweeper, useless. Kind of. Actually, I've seen someone use it. It can be okay if you know what you're doing. Maybe when people get more techie with prox mines and jolt mines and whatnot, it could be useful. But for now, we're going to leave that. Security breach is the controversial one. This is the big sort of question mark. I personally don't use it. I didn't even use it in the sort of previous wipe just now, and there's even less reason to use it now. Now that it's been nerfed heavily, and the spawns are dynamic, so you can't guarantee security breaches when you go to the spawns. For me, it's just not worth it. It's not worth the 36 points. It's not worth what you lose in conditioning and mobility. And for me, there's an abundance of loot in this game anyway. Pretty much on all maps, wherever you go, particularly obviously the yellow and red areas as well. There's just so much loot everywhere. And also the way the backpack system works, I always feel like I can't carry enough loot. Especially if I kill even just one guy and I loot 2 or 3 different rooms, there's so much loot I often have to leave. I can't seem to carry as much loot as I actually earn in the raid anyway, and that's with the looting MK3 augment. So I'm already at max kind of capacity there. So I don't see a need for security breach. It's just extra loot that I can't carry. So for me, yeah, leaving that one out, definitely. Looter's Luck is kind of nice, but yeah, not going for it. So yeah, as I mentioned, there's 6 points left, and these 6 points are specifically left for 1 in Suffering Silence, which is it's okay, not the worst one in the world, but really that is the bridge to get us to Broad Shoulders. This is a hugely important skill, particularly if you don't have the MK3 looting augment blueprint yet. You want to, maximum weight carry is a real issue, especially if you get a kill or 2. So this just adds 10 kilograms when you put 5 points into there. Lets you carry an extra 10 kg. That's it, guys. I hope you found this useful. Appreciate you watching. Likes and follows are appreciated. Take care.